Serena didn't need dramatics. She never did. She could slice a person open with a whisper. So when she pushed her chair back, folded her napkin, and said, almost gently, "Lila, you're not invited to Aspen with us this new year." The words didn't feel like rejection, they felt like a verdict. My mother stared at her water glass as though the ripples at the surface contained instructions for escape. Dad forced a cough, pretending to scroll something urgent on his phone even though his screen was black. And Nate, Serena's husband, leaned back with an expression that hovered somewhere between satisfaction and expectation, like this was the moment he'd been waiting for. I didn't react. Not outwardly. Inside, a silent mechanism began tightening, steady, precise, inevitable. There was a time when Serena and I were inseparable. We were kids building pillow forts under the dining table, drawing treasure maps on scrap paper, inventing worlds where we were each other's heroes. Whenever she needed backup, she grabbed my hand. Whenever I fell, she pulled me up before I even hit the ground. But people change, and sometimes they change in ways that feel like betrayal with a polite face. The shift started when Nate entered her life. He was charming, polished, socially magnetic, but his eyes were the kind that measured everyone in the room, filing people under useful, neutral, or disposable. I didn't fall under the first two. The closeness between Serena and me didn't disappear overnight. It faded like old ink. Shorter calls. Half-hearted replies. Inside jokes replaced by inside secrets. And suddenly I became the person they contacted only when they needed something. A loan. A ride. A convenient lie. The moment that broke the illusion came last spring. A cousin's engagement party, noise and music filling the house. I went upstairs to grab my coat and heard Serena's voice behind a bathroom door, sharp, brittle, unfiltered. "She drains me," she whispered. "She has no direction. I'm tired of carrying her." Nate murmured back, "She'll cling harder if we keep including her. Just cut her out slowly. She'll get the hint." Serena let out a quiet laugh. "Exactly. She doesn't belong on these trips with us. She ruins the vibe." I stood there for 10 seconds. 10 full seconds where my body didn't even know how to breathe. I didn't confront them. I didn't walk away upset. I walked away aware. From there, the pattern became unmistakable. Group chats created without me. Family photos I didn't know were being taken. Invites forgotten. Birthdays, too busy to attend. But the real revelation came 2 months later, an email that wasn't meant for me. Serena was forwarding receipts for the Aspen trip to Mom, and by accident, she included my address in the CC line. At the bottom of the message was a note. "Don't tell Lila. She'll make it weird. We need this trip to be drama-free." My stomach didn't drop. My hands didn't shake. Instead, a strange calmness washed over me, icy, clean, decisive. People think revenge is rage. But real retribution is clarity. The first step wasn't retaliation. It was withdrawal. No more financial rescues. No more favors. No more stepping in when Nate failed at basic responsibility. Then I found the leverage, something they didn't even remember existed. My grandparents' old beach cottage. The place Serena insisted was symbolic for her and Nate. The place they renovated without hesitation, assuming it belonged solely to them. It didn't. Half of the property was still under my name. A transfer document had never been filed. They hadn't paid taxes in 2 years, because they had assumed they didn't need to. And Nate, ever the opportunist, had been quietly renting it out on weekends for extra cash. Illegal without the co-owner's consent. I read through every report, every transaction, every municipal notice. All of it was there. Violations, unpaid bills, fraudulent listings. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't warn them. I just let the facts stack neatly into place. Which brings us back to Serena's sentence at the dinner table. "You're not coming to Aspen." She said it like a queen announcing a decree. Nate watched me like a scientist observing a specimen. Would I panic? Break? But I didn't do any of that. I simply adjusted my napkin, leaned back, and said calmly, "But before we finish dinner, we should discuss the Coast House." The shift was immediate. Serena froze. Nate blinked, smile twitching like a faulty light bulb. I placed the folder on the table. Tax papers. Rental violations. County letters. Ownership documents with my name in bold. I've already notified the county, I said evenly. And the rental platform. No bookings can continue under your name. Nate's throat tightened. Serena whispered, Lila, you wouldn't actually. I already have, I replied. Dad set down his phone. Mom looked up for the first time in 20 minutes. Silence thickened around us like fog. Nate swallowed. So, what do you want? I smiled, not cruel, not triumphant, just certain. Simple. You're vacating the house. I'm taking full ownership. Starting immediately. Serena's mouth parted like she wanted to protest, but the words disintegrated. The house they poured money into. The house they hosted parties in. The house they bragged about. Gone. They moved out within 5 days. They canceled Aspen. And the energy they once used to erase me was suddenly replaced with quiet, cautious respect. For the first time in years, the air around me felt balanced. Justice doesn't roar. It hums. So, steady. Undeniable. Serena may never figure out how I stayed silent through all those months, how I listened to the cruelty she thought I'd never hear, how I stacked every detail neatly until the moment they could no longer ignore me. But the truth is simple. I don't fall apart. I calculate. And I finish what other people start.